Did you guys watch Dynamite?
Yep.
No.
You didn't watch it? Okay, Joe, pull up the numbers
I
here.
spoke to someone earlier today in the business, a wrestler, and I was joking about that. I was like, I've been getting back into Raw and stuff, and I can't twist my own arm to make myself watch Dynamite. And I know Konnan has said, you work on the wrestling show, watch the wrestling, right? And the person I was talking to said, you couldn't pay me a weekly salary to watch that show. That's what they said.
Yeah, well, it's very difficult for me to watch it, too. I only watched, like, the first hour and 15 minutes and then, like, read the rest and, like, looked at a clip of, like, something I wanted to see because it's, you know,
Right. I'll keep...
The thing about this show is, like, you listen to, you know, like, the people that like it, okay? And they still, like, when they talk about the show, they say, well, this is a good match. Or they still are, like, into, like, these matches are really good.
Right.
Okay, but it's like we've seen enough data over the period of time where enough people have stopped watching it. They're like, bro, that doesn't matter, obviously.
No.
You can't get enough people to watch the match. It doesn't matter if it's good. All people get invested in matches when they care about the characters going in.
Right.
You know, that's pretty obvious, you know, so.
Or if there's variety. Like in the ECW days, you had Eddie versus Dean or Van Dam and Lynn. There was your wrestling part of the show, your 25-minute match. And then you had Raven and Dreamer's stuff, stories. You had the Dudleys either being goofy or being heels. You had Whipper. You just had different things. It wasn't, here's 3 hours of great matches. I don't know anybody that really wants to do that except that PGW fan base when that was a thing, you know, and Ring of Honor maybe.
So they actually started this show kind of like the Raw does, where they showed the people arriving to the arena. So Jay White was arriving to the arena. He got an interview backstage, and he talked about his relationship with Adam Cole. Said that the Death Riders have forced him to rely on people he wouldn't normally rely on. So then they look in the background, and like they're outside, and the Death Riders are there, like getting ready to attack him at the interview segment. So then Adam Copeland and FTR come up behind them, and like, so, you know, like they snuck up on them. So then it starts off with a brawl, and they just brawled into the arena and just everywhere, and this wasn't good. And, you know, basically ended with what you call it. Adam Copeland, bro, this fight went on forever. And it was, you know, I'm talking about this opening segment, it was a long fight, all right? So it ends with them on the other side of in the stands, the Death Riders. Copeland challenges Moxley. Moxley comes out of the stands, grabs the mic, and says no. Okay. So then Jay White tossed out another challenge for Noble's Brisbane Brawl tag match at Grand Slam and wanted himself and Copeland to face Moxley and Castagnoli. And then no answer was given by Moxley and his company again. Right? So what did you think of the opening of the show?
Okay, so I know I'm going to sound like a hater in this, but if you give me something good, I'll put it over. Mm-hmm. Bro, this looked like the wrestling brawl from last week. Right. They're doing pity-pat punches. Bro, do you not understand that sometimes the camera's doing a close-up while you're punching, and you're punching like that? Right. It doesn't look like perceived violence. It doesn't look like simulated violence. It doesn't look like actual violence. It just looks like your typical wrestling. Oh, you know, and you're like, who fights like that?
Like fake. Like people, it looks like fans fake fighting each other.
Yeah.
Kind of.
And plus, too, this is another thing they do, which is just bizarre because guys don't know how to throw and sell punches. Bro, they got guys, you'll stand and you'll be in front of a guy and like you're forearming the guy in his back. Like, you know, like what are you doing? Like punch the guy like you're fighting, like you're trying to beat the guy up, and they're like
there was a little while when Moxley, I forgot who he paired up with. Mm-hmm. Where it kind of looked like they were really going at it, and then all of a sudden, I think they thought the camera left, or they got tired, or they blew. I'm not sure, and they were back to the fake punches, and I'm like, oh, this is so brutal.
Right. They don't think the camera's on them. It's like they do exactly like they're blowing up, and they don't realize they're thinking that the camera's not on them. Right?
Like, man, how hard is it to make it look real? Come on.
Okay, so being that you guys have been on live TV and on camera. How do you know the camera's on you? The light goes on, right?
Well, usually it's right there, and the light will go on. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like if you're kind of mailed it in, and you look to your right, and you see the red light on the camera, wouldn't you turn it up a little bit, or at least on? You know.
I mean, you would think, you know. So.
By the way, there's no quarters yet, but they did 6:05, which is.
I know.
You know.
Yeah, I was going to talk about it. Yeah. No, I was going to say bring up the. You got the data. Bring it up.
Okay.
By the way. Konnan.
Yep.
So last week did 604,000 on the show. What do you think this week did?
Last week did what?
604.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 600.
Very close, 605. Same audience. Bro, this is just an echo chamber that they're producing the show for. It's like the exact same people every week. This is hysterical.
I saw a tweet, DI, that kind of summed that up, and it was like, the AEW fan base claims that they hate Jericho and they want Jericho off TV, and yet, once again, the Jericho Cruise just sold out, and it was full of, what? AEW fans, AEW shirts. And the point of the tweet, it said, like, this fan base doesn't even understand what they like or what they don't like. They don't even know. You know, they have to, like, you hate this guy so much, you tweet about him, you want him off TV, and then you buy a ticket to his cruise. Like, it made no sense.
But one thing's watching him on TV, and another thing's going to the Dominican Republic on a cruise that has like a whole bunch of wrestlers and comedy shows. And
yeah, there's definitely benefits to it, sure.
This was hysterical. So they showed video of Buddy Matthews was having words with Okada in the back, saying, "Hey, we never defend that belt," and he refused. So Matthews called him and walked away, and like Okada got mad. So they immediately go to a graphic, Okada versus Matthews for the, championship. So Don Callis came out and introduced Ospreay. Oh, well, by the way, so they had a pretty cool vignette last week where they're at the home and they're all sitting at the table, right?
At the mansion?
At the mansion. Yeah. Don Callis is talking about, okay, well, what if we have five? What's wrong with having 5 members, right? So they introduced their new member, Mark Davis.
Oh, excellent.
Mark Davis, Konnan. Mark Davis.
Well,
Konnan.
You heard the people's reaction.
No, you're supposed to say, who? So now this is interesting. While you were in the hospital for like a month, right? Mark Davis made some appearances on their TV. And, bro, one of the shows he came out, remember this, Joe? When he had a food stain on his shirt?
Yeah, and it was very like I was like, what is his gimmick? Is he like a tough guy, like a bar bro? Like, I didn't understand what.
Because he had like skinny jeans on with like no socks and stuff. Like, and it's just like every week he looked like a slob, and it was like a shoot slob, like he spilled the shirt. So this guy's fighting Will Ospreay, and so they have their match, and Ospreay of course beats him because there's no way this guy's going to beat him. So after the match, Ospreay grabbed a microphone and he thanked the crowd for the enthusiasm and then turned his attention to Don Callis. He said he had a new friend he'd like to introduce to the party pooper, Don Callis. So Kenny Omega came out, but Don Callis ran away before he could get to the ring. Then Kenny Omega addressed Don Callis and called him a coward. He then and this is a very good description of this, okay? I'm going to read you exactly where this guy's writing this. He then confusedly said he would make his AEW in-ring return in Brisbane with Will Ospreay in a few weeks' time. So then Fletcher and Takeshita walked out, but Callis prevented them from walking down to the ring. Then Omega said that their match in Brisbane in a few weeks wasn't to prove who the better wrestlers were. It would prove that the future of AEW belongs to them and not to Fletcher and Takeshita. And he then did his good night bit. It's a bit of do and good night. And then so the Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher walked off. If they had stayed around for 5 seconds more, this giant pyro explosion went off on the stage, like this massive pyro that Kenny Omega even seemed surprised by it. Even the guys that reviewed the show, I think this is Jason Powell reviewed this, okay? And I think because this is Jake Barnett. Powell doesn't even watch AEW anymore. How great is that? So Jake Barnett says, Omega is still pretty awkward on the microphone, even misspeaking at times, but he's a quirky charm about him, and the crowds are still into it despite it all. Ospreay and Mark Davis is well worked, but is very much an AEW special, as Powell termed it, and it dragged on longer than you expect for a match with zero doubt about the outcome. What do you think about this segment?
Well, I thought, when they brought him out as the mystery guy, there was a big letdown you could hear from the people. He should have just come out with the Callis family, done a video package that he joined them, because they kind of made it to be a big deal, and it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then Switchblade set up the challenge for the Grand Slam thing, which is, listen to this, it's called the Brisbane Brawl.
Brisbane Brawl.
Which, like all foreign country brawls, is just a brawl. This was in Brisbane. And then for some reason, I don't even know if she just ad-libbed and did it or they told her to do it, because it made absolutely no sense. For some reason, Shafir picked up Paquette and put her on her shoulder.
Dragged her off.
What is that?
Yeah. I have no idea, bro. This was a perfect example of the problems with AEW. Okay, bro, they're top guys, good enough on the mic to sell you into caring about their match.
Well, not just that. Why did it take this guy 15 minutes to beat Mark Davis? That's your top baby face.
That's the way they do it here, man. A bunch of kickouts, a bunch of false finishes. These guys kick out of everything. They always, here's what they always do in AEW. This is funny too. They constantly give WWE finishers and just kick out. And it's just like they think that might be like owning the. It's like, no, guys, you're not. It just shows that like you're just kicking out of everything just to say for the sake of kicking out of everything. You know, it's like you're not taking the psychology of this business as seriously as you should. But yeah, even Don Callis couldn't save this, to be honest with you. But bro, like I said, these guys are just not good at doing the things that you need to do in weekly TV to get people to interested in this show and watch the show. And they're just not that good at it. So I don't want to be a hater, but the numbers kind of speak for themselves. And if you watch the content, it's like, yeah, that's kind of why these numbers speak for themselves, you know? So Syndicate came out. They looked great. He called, MVP called Private Party talented, but they're the wrong place, the wrong time. He just dressed the rest of the roster holding championships, told me to get ready. So then the Gun Club came out. The Guns, so they did some vignettes in the past couple of weeks. And they basically had some words. And they basically challenged the Gun Club and laughed. He stared down Colton as he left the ring and laughed at him. And they did their guns up shtick. This is like, I mean, nobody is, like I said, this was like, if you're doing booking, if somebody's told you, okay, this is how you book wrestling, right? And you got the Hurt Business, okay? So, okay, well, who's their first guys are going to wrestle against? And you just bring out some guys and they have a promo against each other, right? But nobody and their mother thinks that the Guns have any shot against these guys, right? So I'm saying they need to do a sidebar in this where they start having issues with the Don Callis guys and Archer and Cage.
Yeah, but I'm not really against this because the Guns have a lot of charisma and they're good. They've turned into good workers, and I'm sure they'll have good matches. Plus, I like fresh matchups. I don't think these guys have ever faced each other. You know what I'm saying? What's weird to me is that the Guns are there, right? Jay White is there, but yet he's wrestling with somebody else on that big show they have coming up. Why don't they at least do a backstage segment where the Guns go, hey, I know that we were hurt and you had to pick a partner. Explain why the Guns are not with Jay White.
Yeah. So they go backstage and they showed a video of Harley Cameron. Get a load of this, Harley Cameron. They showed her winning her first TV match.
Against Taya, I saw that.
Okay. So Renee Paquette was said to interview Mercedes when Harley Cameron appeared with her Mercedes Monet puppet. She had a conversation with the puppet briefly about getting a title match, and Mercedes appeared from the room behind them. She mocked Harley for lacking accomplishments and recalled winning her first title at 23 and said she has done nothing to deserve an opportunity against the Money Tree. Okay, that was the basics. I just read it to you, but the acting in this was so atrocious. I would like you guys to go out of your way to watch this.
I did see it. What do you mean go out of my way?
I'm talking to the people that listen to this.
Okay.
So, what do you agree with the acting in this promo? Was just, I don't.
Yeah, the only thing is that the Harley's very entertaining, but
this is all like silly. The thing was, like I said, it's
nerds.
Silly that Monet comes out and her shtick is so over the top and absurd. It's like this does not. It's not like it's just like they're doing a Saturday Night Live skit instead of like trying to get you to watch a
100%.
Right. So Renee Paquette interviewed Hangman backstage, and she asked if he felt any remorse about what happened to Daniels. He said that's why he was looking for Swerve last week. He said no, he did exactly what he said he would do to Daniels after Daniels accepted their match. So the Max Caster interrupted and said he'd been waiting for a chance to interview, and Page was irritated. Caster said he likes what Hangman is doing. It would be great if he put Bowens or Billy Gunn in the hospital.
No, but didn't Caster say something like "hurry up" while he was?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, that was funny.
So this was the best thing on the show. Okay, the Caster character. Okay, he is doing this character very well.
Right.
Okay, because he's like, right. So he's like, his acting is better than most of the people on the show. Okay, Caster, because he's doing a gimmick and it's good. So Hangman said they weren't there, but Caster was. He'd love to put him in the hospital. So Caster said he's good, but just head out to his rental car and ran away.
Yeah.
So then for some inexplicable reason, okay, they did a shtick here where I don't know when the spot came up again, but Hangman was literally still like chasing after Caster. If you want to make some fantasy picks on your favorite sports, check out Underdog Fantasy. It's all the rage. where you can choose higher or lower between 2 to 8 players, and you can win up to 325 times your entry. Use the code K100 at the Underdog Fantasy website, on the app, or at our personalized link, and you can receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash as well as a free pick. Underdog Fantasy offers a unique approach to fantasy sports, and it's a simple pick-em style format. You can select players you believe will outperform expectations without the complexities of traditional daily fantasy sports. The user-friendly interface and growing community make it easy and fun to play, plus it's available in over 30 U.S. states. We will share our picks for you every week on K100 Sports. You can follow along or play against us. So use the code K100 at UnderdogFantasy.com on the app or at the link included in the show notes and receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash plus a free pick. UnderdogFantasy.com. It's an underdog thing. Right. At some point, they came in the ring with the
MJF. Right, yeah, MJF, like, are you kidding me? Is this really happening? Yeah.
Right. Okay, so then they did Takeshi and Kyle Fletcher against the Hounds of Hell. Take a while. Guess who won this? Kyle Fletcher Takeshi in 14 minutes and 15 seconds. Do this, Joe. Go to Meltzer.
Well,
said
Fletcher and Takeshi can't lose because they're going to wrestle in Australia.
Correct. And they should actually. I wanted to go to Meltzer said what, Joe? And today's conversation that he posted with Brian and Dave. This is entertaining again.
I'm still a big fan of that lapsed fan that you sent me yesterday.
Yeah, that was funny. This one's good too. This clip.
Yeah.
Joe, no, go to click on the actual. Okay, click that on. Okay, now click on the first one.
Then we had Takeshi and Fletcher versus the Hounds of Hell, and this was quite a great match. But I thought they had a few near falls too many, because at the end of the day, Takeshi and Fletcher are facing the two biggest baby faces on the roster at Grand Slam.
Yeah, but they didn't want to.
I know they never want to beat the Hounds of Hell, but you know what? Sometimes you got to beat people. We just were talking about that.
They did beat them.
I know, but like they're hitting all of their moves, and these guys keep kicking out of everything that they've got.
But they still lost.
And finally, we had a combo brainbuster.
I actually thought that they did the best.
I know you're going to put this over. I know you like this stuff. I don't like it. Sometimes it's time to get over a team and not the other team.
But this is not one of those times. This is the time where you have to get over both teams.
No.
The Hounds of Hell they're just getting started.
Then they should face somebody else and get over.
Well,
Takeshi and Fletcher are going to Australia in 2 weeks against Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega, the dream team. Okay?
And they won.
Yes, after not being able to beat them with one near fall after another. And you could even hear the crowd. They had a spot at the end where there was like Takeshi rakes Buddy's eyes. Fletcher hits him with the draping DDT. They go for the cover. Brody kicks out, and you can hear the crowd like, okay, kicked out of that one. And then they do another one, and they do another one, and then finally they hit that combo brain button. And you can listen to the crowd. You can hear the crowd hit a peak, and then they kicked out of one too many near falls, and they lost the crowd.
I'll have to watch.
Go watch it again. I'm telling you.
Because I certainly did not see it that way.
Well, you can watch it again, and you will see.
And I mean, the thing also is, again, it's like this was they wanted to give those guys a win over somebody credible, but they didn't want to. Look, they won. That's all that matters at the end of the day. They got the win. In WWE, they would have done it the same way.
No, it would have been much more dominant.
No,
if Jey Uso is going for the title, he is not going to go there and go. That's the story, though, Dave. That's the story.
Yeah.
Go to the next one, Joe. You get the arrow.
Okay, what about Sami Zayn and CM Punk? Sami Zayn got all kinds of offense on CM Punk.
Are the Hounds of Hell going to beat Takeshi and Fletcher at All In? If they're not, it's not the same as Jay and Gunther.
Okay,
because that's the story that he can't beat the guy.
What is the story? Sami Zayn and Punk. Sami Zayn and Punk.
Yeah, Punk beat him.
He did beat him
decisively, clean.
Right, clean. After how many near falls?
They did not kick out of this many.
Maybe not. They did all kinds of near falls in that match. They did all kinds of close calls. Yes.
But when that match was over, Punk was clearly the better man. Punk was the guy you were like, yeah, I should get the shot.
And Fletcher and Takeshi are heels, so they have to show more vulnerability. And at the end, they won.
I didn't like it.
Okay.
But you were welcome to.
I grew up on Stevens and Patterson.
I thought the match was great. I thought there were too many near falls there.
I grew up on Stevens and Patterson, and this is what they did.
That's fine in
I grew up on
1970s, but this is today. We got to make stars. We have to make stars. We have to make guys that are at another level than other guys. That's what we have to do. If otherwise, we're not going to have stars.
Guess what? Who's wrestling Okada?
Who is wrestling? Buddy? Yeah, Buddy's wrestling Okada.
So he has to be protected.
Okay, so put him in another match.
They decided to make an exciting match.
I know they did. That's my point. That was a mistake. If you want to protect two teams, have them each do different matches. We have 220 guys on the roster. Don't tell me there's not another team that Takeshi and Fletcher could beat that's a named team. Don't tell me there's not another team that House of Hell could beat.
Okay,
or Buddy, because there is.
Okay, but guess what? They also did the spot with the fake Okada spot in the match. If you don't have Buddy...
Oh, that one even made me more angry. I wish you had to mention that. Oh, my God. So they're doing this match, and they're like halfway through, and Buddy goes up top, and they hit Okada's music, okay? They hit his music in the middle of this match. So Buddy gets distracted, and he's looking to the back, like, where is cut off?
Yeah.
And then he gets the heat back again.
Yeah.
And they just kept going, and I was like, what did we do that spot for? What was the point? It didn't cost him the match. He got the heat right back afterwards.
To set up Okada and Buddy, because Okada wasn't
It didn't do anything.
It's to remind people Okada and Buddy are doing a match in 10 days.
We just saw an interview 5 minutes earlier.
So that's more to add to it.
If the music or Okada would have cost him the match, then fine, okay? That makes sense.
Well,
but
they
did music, and then it led to nothing. It was just something in the middle of the match that led to nothing.
It's part of the deal of Don Callis being really smart. Don Callis, came up with something to help his team. They didn't win the match with it, but it was a spot in there. It's part. Don Callis, is there anything wrong with making the evil manager
but
really
Dave,
smart?
If the music would have led to the baby faces getting the heat, or the heels getting the heat on them, then that's fine, okay?
Yeah,
but the music hit, the guy's distracted, and literally the spot was he gets cut off, and then he immediately slips out and gets back in control again. So it didn't even distract him.
He should have sold it longer. I do agree with that.
That's exactly correct.
I will agree with that.
He should have
sold it. He should have sold it.
Because otherwise it was a pointless distraction. Yeah, if you're going to distraction, the distraction has to lead to something. Not the guy just getting back in control again.
It led to...
Well, let me just say two things. I love when Brian and Dave go at it.
Right.
And on this particular issue, I'm with Brian.
100%. Dave, bro, it's like... The funny thing is like, Brian is trying to explain things that they do that lead to the fact that they're not doing good business. And it's like, I don't think Dave can watch this show like with the eye of a critical person that understands, okay, these things aren't being done correctly. But Brian sees the things that are being done incorrectly. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if Dave thinks they're like, oh, it's fine. Bro, that's the problem. If Tony Khan is fine with Dave Meltzer thinking everything they're doing is fine, you sit at 604 right now and 605 last week. Next week might be 590 with no competition. And it's like,
that's low 600, bro.
That's
for a little while now. Yeah.
Bro, when NXT was doing these numbers, people thought they were doing terrible.
No.
NXT.
Yeah.
Like the people with no expectation for a show.
The worst part is, excuse me, NXT's beating them in the ratings.
No, killing them. Yeah. They're like 150, 200,000 more people.
It's a way better show.
Well, and you can tell because wrestling fans only had a finite number of hours each week to invest in the product. A lot of them decided, you know what? We're going to watch Tuesday night instead of Wednesday night.
Bro, unless you become mainstream, you're a niche product.
Right.
And that's what they are.
Well, all right, so
from that, DI, just real quick, that argument from a fan perspective, I can't believe that Dave tried to argue the point that only a win matters,
right,
and not the manner of a win.
Correct.
If the manner of a win doesn't matter as far as who's stronger coming out of the match, then none of this means anything.
Right. I know. It's just a typical standalone match. We rated it with stars. It was a good match because they had a bunch of but that's not what we're trying to do here because we're trying to sell another match.
Yeah.
So they showed a video of the patriarch getting the best of Hook and Samoa Joe in Collision. And then Joe and Hook approached Christian's locker room backstage. It looked like a coat closet on the inside. Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne were there, and they answered. For some inexplicable reason, Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne were acting tough. It was just not the way it was said. So Joe decided to leave a message for Christian, and he beat them up. And they actually shot this pretty well because Christian was like in the camera shot. He was walking in and noticed this and kind of hid. And then he reappeared later, like went in the room and like asked what happened. It's actually, I'm gonna give him credit for this. The production.
So let me explain it to people,
and the beating looked pretty good in there too.
Right,
like they were beating
Joe,
him. Right,
yeah, because
Joe was looking like
Joe's going to make sure his looks good. So Joe and who was the other guy that was with him? Hook, yeah. Walked into the dressing room of Kristen Cage and he goes, "Where's your dad?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's not here." So they started to smart mouth Joe and the other guy. So Hook, so they started to put the, boots to them. And at the same time, Chris is walking into the room and he sees him getting beat up. So he leaves.
He got scared,
because he's afraid. Right. Then the best part, here's my favorite part. After they beat him up and they leave the room, Kristen comes back in like,
and
what
they showed it on one camera shot. And they sneakily hiding. Like I said, that was shot very well. That was because Joe and Christian were involved. That was a very well done segment. They made sure it was done very well. So that was, just goes to show you, like when some of the pros are giving good content, we get good content.
Yeah, something's good. We're going to put it over, and that was definitely good.
Right. So MJF comes out for promo, and he said he got rid of that Carney. Now that Carney Jeff Jarrett is out of the way, he's one step closer to getting his belt back. So then Max Caster got in the ring because he was running away from Hangman and Page.
No, wait a minute. Didn't Swerve and Ricochet wrestle?
No, yes, main event.
Okay.
And so then Max Caster got in the ring, and suddenly he was running away from Hangman still. So Hangman was running after him still. I don't know why he's running after him. It's like, why was he running after him?
Because remember he said, he goes, "I'll follow you to your car." No, that's okay. I think he was still following him around. Yeah.
For like 20 minutes, right? Which makes Adam Page, because they wanted to do this spot. They should have done this in the match. They should have started the interview segment before this segment started.
Right.
Okay. Instead of because then we were supposed to assume he's been chasing this guy around for like 20 minutes, which is absurd, right? So then Hangman comes in, chase him and MJF have a face off. Okay, they got each other's face. They called Hangman a hack and said nobody's on his level after he ran off. Then Dustin Rhodes came down, and this was so funny because Dustin Rhodes had 2 belts with him. Right? I guess one of them is
what were they?
A Ring of Honor 6-man tag championship, and there's another one too. I don't know, but they're minor. It's like I wouldn't even. Like, why even coming out with them is just confused. Like, what are those belts?
Dustin is one half of the tag team champions with Sami and 1/3 of the 6-man tag champions with the Von Erich boys.
What?
Yes, sir. Ring of Honor, yeah.
Right. Dustin got his face. He said he was better than MJF, and his punk already knows it. And MJF replied and said, "All his years of worthless addict must have turned his brain to switch cheese if he believes that." He told Dustin he spent the first 37 years of his life crawling out of the shadow of his father, only to end up back in the shadow of his little brother. That got Dustin mad, so he punched him. The referees had a break. This is actually good, well done, because they had Dustin punch him. They started to brawl, but the refs and officials broke them up. They pulled MJF out of the ring, but MJF fought off to go back in the ring, and Dustin broke away from the security guards and ran right into MJF, kicking him right, which is actually a pretty good spot. And then MJF passed Chris Daniels, going back to the locker room, said the Hangman must have really done a number on him. Konnan just disappeared. Joe, you didn't watch this, right?
No. I mean, I watched some clips, but I didn't see.
So let me just say that I thought the promo by Dustin was great, passionate. It was believable. It was way better than the one with Jeff Jarrett. And I'm more interested in MJF versus Dustin now than I am against Jeff. And I'm more interested if he does something against Hangman, And this might be the only thing that I've seen MJF do in months that I'm interested in, because everything he's done like the last 8 or 9 months I have not been into.
All right. Well, I'll be honest with you.
You didn't like Dustin's promo?
Yeah, it was good, but I'm not interested in MJF feuding with Dustin Rhodes.
Right.
I'm like, look at the feuds he's been in.
It might be a one-off only. I don't think
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If you look at the feuds that MJF has been in since he's come back from injury,
they've been terrible.
Since he's signed his contract, his new deal, bro, they've literally done nothing to get any value out of what they're paying this guy. No. He's had no high profile. Like they're doing all this.
Who do they get any value out of?
Nobody.
Right.
Like, bro, we're talking. Think about this, Konnan. Okay. Remember we talked about how every 2 weeks, like John Moxley's looking down a $191,000 check. Mercedes Moné is looking down probably like a $200,000 check. MJF is probably looking at $200,000 check. Swerve is probably looking like 125, 150,000. Bro, let's add those numbers up, right? So you're talking about like on a weekly basis, okay? The amount of the talent budget for that show that they're doing, producing in front of that small of a crowd, in front of this small of a TV audience. Like I know they're getting paid rights fees, but dude, they had to begin losing so much more money than people let on to believe. Like leading up to these past like 5 years. Like the budget is unbelievable. Like they get no value out of these people. Like the money they get paid is enormous. Like, could you imagine getting paid 100? They get paid like $100,000 a shot, Konnan, and that's what they're doing with these guys.
Yeah, bro.
Like, could you imagine booking a show? Okay, and you want to book like and you want to get Moxley and Swerve, and they're like, well, we get $100,000. like, what would you say?
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
absolutely no.
But
I mean, it seems like the only guys they get value out of, and if I'm missing a couple, let me know, is Hurt Business, Tony Storm, and who was the other guy I wanted to say?
QT.
QT Marshall?
I wasn't insulting him there. I mean, I think QT's worth every penny he's making.
Yeah, it probably is. All right, let's go to the next. Let's finish up because I got to run.
Yeah.
So Mariah Maybe came out for commentary, and then Storm came out, or Queen Aminata is out there, our girl. I know nothing about Queen Aminata. She's here on Dynamite wrestling Storm, who came out dressed like Mariah May. And even though Tony Storm was dressed as Mariah May, and you would think the gimmick would here be, all right, let's do this because this is the shtick, this is the gimmick of the match. Bro, they still went like 9 minutes. And this, whatever. So Tony Storm wins in 9 minutes. And after the match, Storm was interviewed, demanded to be called Mariah May, and she said she stood on the necks of her competition, nobody could touch her. So then actual Mariah May got on the apron and decided better and headed back to the back in a huff and frustration at being mocked. So I thought they should have brawled here because Mariah May should have been attacked her after.
Well, she was mad. She just didn't attack her.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, there was no heat here.
Bro, this is probably, the best women's feud I've ever seen in AEW. And Tony's been great, and I like what she was wearing. She looked hot. Now she's built to twerk. All right.
Mm-hmm. So they had a video package to recap the feud between Big Bill and Powerhouse Hobbs, which didn't. Well, like I said, when Big Bill brawls, it's just like he mails it in. It's like I said, those lazy it's like I don't know. So Jericho had the New York Minute, and I brought up Bandito, who came back, and because this is on the shows I don't watch. Told him nobody wants him there in AEW, and he said he would turn this into a teachable moment when there's a $100,000 bounty on his head. The Learning Tree had a bounty hunter. So Jericho said he would double the reward to $200,000. Brian Keith could do to Bandito what Big Bill had done to Powerhouse Hobbs. Then Big Bill tried to get a warrant on Hobbs, but then Hobbs came out, started brawling with the Learning Tree. The Outwarders joined him in the brawl broke out at ringside, and this broke down. Bro, I got to call Jericho out on this. If he mailed it in on the fighting here.
Yeah, they all
you watch
did,
it?
basically.
It's like it's this, bro. It's like you guys are doing 600,000 people. You got to fine tune everything you're doing right now. It's like they're like going through the motions out there because they're not doing ratings. Is what it comes across as. So the Outwarders of Powerhouse Hobbs yelled at the Learning Trees. They were escorted from the building to the back. Then Swerve came out for the main event, but Ricochet attacked him from behind with a chair. Then Swerve slapped him in the face and demanded the bell to ring. Isn't that funny? People were talking about, people were actually bringing that up about why are they attacking, why are they starting match after attack, and they actually did a gimmick out of that this week, so whatever. So Swerve wrestled Ricochet, and a very weird finish that was confusing, okay, because he goes for the curb stomp, off the top ropes where you're landing with both your feet on the guy's chest. But Ricochet put his hands up like this above him, which led us to believe that supposedly he hit him right.
Right.
But why would he have hit him in done that spot if Swerve was stomping him 2 feet in the chest? His feet would have been wide enough. I don't know. So it was a weird looking finish. Ricochet got the win, okay, with the weird looking nut shot. And after the match, Ricochet took Personana's robe and put it on before leaving the ring. And actually, too, let me tell you, Ricochet, both of these guys are very good at showing personality in between the moves. So these guys look like two stars when they're fighting each other. And the match wasn't as crazy as you would think with these two. What'd you think?
Yeah, you thought it was going to be high flying and it was more physical because they have a feud.
Right. So they were smart enough to think, okay, what's this? What are we selling here? You know. So, but I just didn't like. I liked it, but just the finish was just so weird. You know.
It was weird, but let me tell you what was even weirder. So Ricochet stole a robe from him and put it on. Mm-hmm. Really? That's the heat?
Yeah, I guess. All right. So the show was, I mean, just like your typical show here. Like, you know,
I thought the show was better than usual, but look at the numbers, bro. They're still bad.
Right.
You know, the Mark Davis thing I thought was handled wrong. You know, they should have done a video package where they're bringing him into the family instead of, oh, we got this big mystery wrestler and he comes out and then it takes 15 minutes to beat him. Okay? I like the Swerve Strickland Ricochet match, and I like the Fletcher and Takeshita versus Hounds of Hell. That was actually very good. And like I said again, you know, I think Tony Storm's the most interesting character on that show. That's basically about it.
All right. Here's the problem with the show. Right. Okay. Is that too often, right? The show is produced start to finish. Just very rarely we say, wow, that was a great segment. Just very rare.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like some of the segments that you would hope would be great segments are just not, because they're with your higher up guys on the card. And they're not really delivering like in the type.
I did like everything between Caster and Cowboy.
Okay.
Yo, what's up? I just want to thank you guys for watching this clip. Don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And join our YouTube membership for hours and hours of exclusive, unedited, uncensored content. And being a member will help you get involved in our upcoming live streams. Thank you for your support. Thank you for riding with us. I know you got a lot of other podcast choices, be it wrestling or other ones. And thank you for picking us. Boom.